Before the internet, before email, before even reliable phone service, New York City had its own physical internet. 27 miles of cast-iron tubes running beneath Manhattan and Brooklyn, shooting messages through the darkness at 35 miles per hour. At its peak, this system carried 95,000 letters a day, 30% of all mail in the city. It could get a letter from Wall Street to Harlem faster than you can get there today. So why did we abandon it? Picture New York City in the 1890s. The population is exploding. Streets are choked with horses and wagons. And the mail? The mail is a disaster. Getting a letter from downtown to uptown could take hours, sometimes a full day. The city was growing faster than anyone could keep up. Postmaster General John Wanamaker had a radical idea. Philadelphia had just installed America's first pneumatic tube mail system in 1893. Why not New York? The concept was simple: cast-iron tubes underground, steel canisters holding 400 to 600 letters, compressed air pushing them through at 35 miles per hour. In 1897, they started building 27 miles of tubes connecting 23 post offices across Manhattan and Brooklyn. October 7, 1897. Opening day. Senator Chauncey Depew stands before a crowd at the Produce Exchange Building in Lower Manhattan, ready to make history. The first canister, a Bible wrapped in an American flag, the Constitution, President McKinley's inaugural address. It shoots through the tubes successfully. The crowd applauds. The second canister contains an artificial peach. You see, Depew's nickname was the Peach. The crowd laughs. This is the age of innovation and playful experimentation. But the third test was something else entirely. They placed a live black cat in a canister. Postal Supervisor Howard Wallace Connolly later wrote how it could live after being shot at terrific speed from Station P, making several turns before reaching Broadway and Park Row. I cannot conceive. But it did. It seemed dazed for a minute or two, but started to run and was quickly secured. The crowd erupts. The cat survived. The system works. New York City's underground mail network is born. The cat, we can assume, was less enthusiastic. So how did this actually work? The tubes were 8 inches in diameter, made of cast iron. They ran 4 to 18 feet underground, sometimes above the subway, sometimes below it. The canisters were steel, 24 inches long, 8 inches in diameter, and weighed 21 pounds empty. Each one could carry 400 to 600 letters. Here's what happened. Mail arrives at a post office, gets sorted by destination. Letters are placed into a canister labeled with the destination station. The canister is loaded into the tube. Massive rotary blowers and compressors, built by General Electric and Westinghouse, create 3 to 8 pounds per square inch of air pressure. The canister shoots through the darkness, spinning, racing through turns, traveling beneath streets, under buildings, through the city's hidden infrastructure. It arrives at a station. But here's the interesting part. Every canister had to emerge at every station along the route. Wrong destination? Back into the tubes it goes. At its peak, the system connected 23 post offices. From the General Post Office at Park Row, up the west side to Manhattanville, up the east side to East Harlem, crosstown to Grand Central, a 4-minute trip that took 40 minutes by street. The tubes even crossed the Brooklyn Bridge, connecting Manhattan to the Brooklyn General Post Office in just 4 minutes. The system could move 200,000 letters per hour. At peak operation, canisters were shooting through every 6 to 15 seconds. One every 6 seconds. The workers who operated this system were called rocketeers. They loaded and unloaded canisters, monitored for jams, maintained the compressors. One veteran postal worker remembered, "Those canisters came out warm, with a slight slick of oil." And according to reports, workers sometimes sent more than just mail through the tubes. Submarine sandwiches from the Bronx to downtown stations. Emergency documents. Anything that could fit. Oh, and after that first cat? Reportedly, they sent dogs, mice, guinea pigs, roosters, monkeys, and in 1908, a goldfish in a glass globe. All survived, apparently. By the 1920s, the system was carrying 95,000 letters every single day. That was 30% of all mail in New York City. In some periods, over 50%. It became essential infrastructure. The financial district especially depended on it. Stock certificates, business correspondence, legal documents, all racing beneath the streets at speeds that couldn't be matched above ground. And when the weather turned bad? When blizzards shut down the streets and horses couldn't move. A congressional report noted, New York streets were almost impassable. New York business houses nevertheless received their important mail on time. The pneumatic tubes carried the mails. New York wasn't alone. Philadelphia had the first system. Boston built 13.6 miles. Chicago, 19.8. St. Louis had a smaller network. But the champion was Paris. 269 miles of tubes. They kept their system running until 1984, 34 years longer than New York. Though to be fair, Paris used much smaller tubes, 2 inches in diameter, mostly for telegrams. New York's 8-inch tubes could handle serious mail volume. Imagine it, 5 canisters per minute during rush hour. 27 miles of infrastructure humming beneath one of the busiest cities on Earth. The mail never stopped. Rain, snow, traffic, none of it mattered underground. But nothing lasts forever. The first sign of trouble came during World War I. In 1918, the government suspended the pneumatic tube service to save money for the war effort. The annual rental costs, $17,000 per mile, were deemed too expensive. After the war, most cities didn't bring their systems back. Philadelphia, Chicago, St. Louis, they all moved on. Only New York and Boston reinstated service in 1922, and only after intense lobbying. But a bigger threat was emerging: the automobile. Motor trucks could carry more mail than the tubes. They could adapt their routes as the city changed. They didn't require expensive underground infrastructure. And most importantly, they were cheaper. Government studies started calling the tube system practically obsolete. They claimed it hindered efficient operation. The tube companies fought back, but the writing was on the wall. Then came the final blow. In 1950, during Brooklyn Bridge reconstruction, the Brooklyn-Manhattan tube connection was cut. It was never restored. December 1953. Postmaster General Arthur Summerfield runs a test. For one day, the pneumatic tubes are shut down. Mail is handled by surface delivery instead. His conclusion? The mail can be satisfactorily handled by the addition of 2 trucks at a yearly cost of about $25,000. $25,000. Versus the $1 million lease for the tube system. December 31st, 1953. The contract is cancelled. The system is declared obsolete, unnecessary, and excessively expensive. 130 workers are reassigned. The compressors are shut down. The tubes fall silent. 95,000 letters per day, 30% of the city's mail. Reliable in any weather, faster than surface delivery. Replaced by 2 trucks. The company that operated the tubes was required to remove them. They never fully did. Most of those 27 miles of cast iron pipe are still down there, 4 to 18 feet beneath the streets of Manhattan and Brooklyn. If you visit the old Chelsea post office at 217 West 18th Street, you can still see sections of the original tubes in the basement. They're marked U.S. Post Office Department, silent now, forgotten by almost everyone walking above them. The Smithsonian has preserved some of the original canisters. You can see them at the National Postal Museum in Washington. Heavy steel cylinders that once carried the hopes, the business deals, the love letters of millions of New Yorkers. But here's the twist. The technology didn't actually die. The New York Public Library built its own pneumatic tube system. 7 floors of book stacks connected underground. Patrons filled out request slips, sent them via tube, and books were delivered up on a rotating system. They were still installing new sections of this system in 1998. It didn't shut down until 2016. That's right, 2016. The library proved something important. For certain applications, this obsolete technology remained superior to modern alternatives well into the 21st century. And you still see pneumatic tubes today. Hospital pharmacies use them, bank drive-thrus, some office buildings. The technology never went away. It just went somewhere else.